What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully, you guys are doing excellent and taking care of yourselves. We got Mr. Alien right here. Let him switch up his color a couple times. Make him look evil tonight, right? And we've got some addition to the wall. We've got some Beetlejuice, and we have the very first painting that I ever did about it. Dreadlocked alien, which seems to be very interesting considering the fact that we have these Peruvian face peelers that seem to be very similar to the Predator alien. So, we'll see what happens with that. Of course, we have the Zen Bigfoot right here for your viewing pleasure. He's meditating. Yes, yes, yes. We've got Crazy Dead Alien Kitty. Yes, yes, yes. And we've got the Wild Man painted planter dog. So, got the the Lockdown Universe up on the screen as well. And given this new recording software a try, it seems to be a little sketchy, but I'm hoping that it'll stay true and hold on for the entire podcast. So we're going to check it out and try it out. So for today's podcast, I wanted to cover a really interesting story and see what you thought. Now, there's lots of stories out there, right? Ranging from these monoliths that appeared in 1977 in Prospect, Kentucky, to the Flatwoods Monsters of the 50s in West Virginia, the Pascagoula, the site's calling them the mummies, Hopkinsville goblins, so on and so forth. Now, I did come across a really interesting one, and I don't know if it's true. This page in particular is designed for actual alien encounters. So I wanted to actually talk about this one in particular. It was really weird. It was called the DOMESTEN STINKBLOBs, okay? The DOMESTEN STINKBLOBs. Now, the reason you've never heard of DOMESTEN is because it's in Sweden. And this event took place in 1958. This particular entity looks somewhat similar to the 1957 Old Saybrook entity in its size, but nowhere near in its appearance. The Saybrook entity looked like this. Let's pull it up over here. I'll just kind of drag it over if I can. Pull it here, and then we'll pull it up. See if we can't pull it up for you. The Saybrook had like this rectangular head and very bizarre, kind of like draped white dress. So I'm just going to give you just a peek at it here real quick. This is what it looked like. Okay, but what we're talking about doesn't look like that. It is smaller though, and it states that it is from Sweden during, let's pull up the time period. Why they don't 1958. Okay, 1958. Let's pull up an image of this real quick here and just kind of show it to you and see what you think here. So imagine like a nerve center inside of a blob. So like some circles with some attached tentacles going to other circles, and it just looks like a bunch of nerve endings. So if we pull this over, you'll be able to take a quick peek at it if I can ever get it to come over. See, it's got some nerve endings, and it's got this circle around it. Looks like an spacecraft behind it. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Now, this article states that Stig Rydberg and Hans Gustafsson were driving through a thick fog at 3 in the morning. 2 to 3 is the close encounter hour, is what this article states on the bogleech.com/realaliens. If many of these cases are to be believed, most of these occurred during 2 to 3 a.m. Okay? That's pretty common, right? We see a lot of abductions occur during 2 to 3 a.m. Why? It's because that's the time when most people are sleeping. 2 to 3 a.m. is kind of the witching hour, right? They say 3 o'clock is, but, 2 to 4 is typically abduction time. So let's move forward here with this article. And here we go. So these men stopped to investigate a weird glow and discovered a 12-foot flying saucer surrounded by 4 bluish jelly bags, like in the picture, somehow jumping wildly around the object. So it sounds like this craft stopped, landed, and these jelly-like things are just kind of bouncing around with no apparent meaning or purpose. It states that the men suddenly became attacked by these creatures, which latched on with their powerful suction. They were basically big jelly bags. So imagine just getting like surrounded by this muscular jello and just getting wrapped up and tucked up in this thing, and you can't escape. It's like quicksand, you know? The men stood in shock and they tried to struggle free from their captors, but their arms only sunk into their slimy bodies. Rydberg eventually squirmed free from their grip and ran back to his car, began to honk on his horn, trying to get some attention or maybe scare these things off. It caused the blobs to actually drop his friends and then, quote-unquote, shoot back into their saucer, which immediately took off. Now, they say after this event happened, both men felt ill for days later and could vividly recall the horrible stench of the aliens, like ether, which I've never smelled before, or burnt sausage, which I don't know if burnt sausage smells horrible. Regular sausage smells delicious. Usually burnt meats, you know, sometimes can smell pretty good. So I don't know what ether smells like, but they say it had a horrible stench. Now, I'm surprised there's not more detail on this particular event, but if we kind of go and I did a little bit of research. I tried to find the article where this story actually came from, because they said it was published in a Swedish newspaper. So when I did a little bit of research, tried to find the Swedish newspaper, I found the Swedish newspaper, but I didn't find the story. And maybe it's because it's from 1950, 58, something like that. Yeah, 58. So you got to do your research. So it's in DOMESTEN, Kristianstad, Sweden, is where this event took place. So did a little bit of research, couldn't find it, but you know what? Here's the thing. If you try to do research into an American newspaper and try to find an article from the 50s, you might be hard-pressed. You might have to go to the library. You might have to get it on microfiche, microfilm, and try to get your answers that way. So that could be the case. I did find a couple other locations where this story was represented. And the rest of the stories on this page are legitimate stories, including the Flatwoods Monster and many, many more. So this story, you know, when these stories come from around the world, sometimes we just don't get enough info. And so we just kind of stuck with what we got. But it is fascinating to me personally that these stink blobs look very similar to other reported cases, like the Pascagoula. This one calls them, I think it calls them mummies. I call them marshmallow men. But they bear a pretty strong resemblance to those guys as well. That was a 68, 69 encounter. So it was about 10 years later. It seems like these really weird, bizarre aliens that just are not humanoid at all really were around the time period of the 50s and 60s. And then after that, after probably about the 70s, mid-70s, all we ever heard of was the Greys, the reptilians, praying mantis, you know, and then eventually the Nordics, and, you know, some tall whites and things like that. Eventually, I think they kind of got their approval by the United States government to do work with the government, and then therefore, you know, were able to do and walk around the planet as they needed to. So here we have these aliens that look really terrifying, don't seem to be able to communicate with us, didn't seem to communicate with us telepathically, which is really interesting, right? Many bipedal, typical humanoid looking creatures, whether they be reptilian or whatever, they're able to communicate telepathically. These entities, these jelly sack aliens from Sweden, the DOMESTEN STINKBLOBs, one of my favorite stories or favorite titles. They didn't have a communication. They basically just tried to wrap their slimy bodies around Stig and Hans and tried to bring them into their ship, I guess. I don't know what their purpose was, but here's the really interesting thing, too, is that there was another encounter. If you look at my podcast entitled Space Cows, I think it's it's called What the Gel and Space Cows. That's the title, What the Gel. The reason it's What the Gel is because there was a jelly-like substance on this craft where these, I think it was 2 or 3 individuals, men and women, were captured and thrown into this pool of jelly that they couldn't get out of. It seems as though there's this reoccurring story where there's jelly involved, and this jelly serves a purpose, whether it's to give their captives nutrients or to take information out of them, or maybe some soul energy, who knows. But what was noticed during that particular event on that podcast was that people were terrified. There were other people that were swimming while this other individual was in this pool, and they were drowning, and they were just like breathing underwater, but they were drowning. It was very bizarre, and they were terrified, but they also had seemed to have given up hope. While this guy didn't give up hope, and he was able to get out, and then they basically brought him back and dropped him off on Earth. So, very fascinating story. It seems like these stink blobs might be similar to that. Maybe they were part of the jelly that was on the ship in the pool, and they were sent off by these aliens to go out and grab a few people and bring them back. It is interesting that this happened in Sweden, where it doesn't seem like they have a government conspiracy, or at least a government agreement to allow for human abductions at a certain level, whereas it seems like the American government does have that, and it has had it since Eisenhower, and he's tried to warn us about it. So it seems like maybe these aliens are starting to go off into other countries where there haven't been pacts made, but there's also no limitation on what they can take and what they can do. Now, some stories, some reports say that all aliens need permission to come in and take human life and experiment on it. They have to have an agreement by the Intergalactic Federation. However, maybe that's not the case. Or maybe some alien species haven't abided by that. Or maybe that only happened in 1969. While the aliens that were coming before 1969 weren't bound by any contract or any treaty. They were able to just freely come in and take what they wanted. I don't know for sure, but I do think it's fascinating and it's interesting. So, I think I am going to leave it at that. Let me see if there's any other pictures that I have of the alien stink blobs. I think that's about it. I'm sorry, the DOMESTEN stink blobs. I don't think there's a whole lot of photos out there, but we'll see if there's any that I can drop real quick. I wanted to say a huge thanks out for everybody who has left a review, left a rating, just given your comments, given 5 stars, 4 stars, 2 stars, whatever you want to give on your podcasting listening station or app. And then also, just continue to contribute to the polls section and the comment section. That's where we have our community. We have people who engage. We have people who give their impressions of stories that we talk about. So I'll continue to bring up those polls. Let me see if we can pull up the poll from the last podcast. We just dropped the Mr. Freeze this morning. I did do a recording on that one, a video recording. Unfortunately, for some reason, the video did not record. I'm using the same software today that didn't work yesterday, which may be a humongous fail. We'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back to the other one. They're just trying to charge me extra money per month to do it. So I really don't want to do it, but we'll give it a shot. So if there's any podcast stories that you would like us to do a podcast on, please leave your comment in the comment section. This is the only way we're going to hear from you. I'm still waiting for people to comment on that particular subject. People are commenting on others, so we'll see what happens. As of right now, my system is a little bit slow, so I won't keep you guys. I will pull up the poll information tomorrow and bring it to you. Oh, wait, maybe we got something here. Hang on. Hold your horses. Let's see if we got any pollsters in this particular podcast from Mr. Freeze. Maybe we'll go back a little bit. Any pollsters here? I put one in, I believe. Interact. Gotta hit interact on Spotify. That's the main key there. Okay, no votes in the Mr. Freeze poll yet. Let's pull up the other ones. All right, so who is in control of the moon? There were five answers to this one in the Black Monk Army episode. There were the options of selecting humans being in control of the moon, greys, reptilians, a combination laboratory of aliens, humans, and other nations, and other. And 100% of the votes state that humans are in control of the moon. That is impressive. We're going to take a look at that and see if that's true. Or see if we can find any other information to verify that and back that up. It seems as though, according to remote viewers, that there's a lot of different species in control or having bases on the moon. So it almost seems like a joint venture, but we'll see. Let's take a look at the poll for the pictures of the aliens of Voronezh. And the question was, will we get disclosure on any aggressive alien encounters? And when will they happen? Answer 1 was yes, this year or next year. And the second answer was yes, in the next 10 years. And the third answer was in the next 50. And the fourth was never. We've got a perfect split of yes within the next year and yes within the next 10 years. See, the thing about alien disclosure from the government is that maybe they'll give us a little bit of information here, maybe they'll give us a little information there, like they just dropped the bomb of Mars having a door on the planet, them finding a door and them finding cracks in the soil that clearly shows that there was water at one point, a water lake bed at one point, basically telling us that there was something living there at one point. They're not saying it was 7 foot tall, 10-foot tall aliens that our remote viewers contacted back in 84 underneath the CIA reading room's document written by Joseph McMonigal, but Mr. Remote Viewer number 1, 001 if you will, not 007, but they're stating that there was individuals there or some sort of living life there. So the point is, are they ever going to give us any aggressive alien info right off the bat? Probably not. Maybe within 10 years when we need to know it, or maybe never. Who knows? But the listeners here seem to think that it's going to be within the next year or 10 years. So that's good. So I'm going to let you guys go. Again, please follow, like, subscribe, leave a review. I love you guys for listening. Thank you so much. Hopefully this recording works out. If not, I'm going to have to sit up and make another one on another system. I am recording backup audio, so that's good too. Fingers crossed. Take care of yourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams, and as always, continue to question the universe around you. Until next time, guys, take care of yourselves, and Lockdown Universe is out.